Definition of psychological story. Listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you isn't in any self-help booklet, and it isn't the part of biology class anyone bothered to make interesting. Stress isn't just that annoying little nag in your chest when your inbox overflows or when traffic is a black river of honking cars. Stress is a silent demolition crew in your head. Every time you feel that rush of panic, that spike of dread when the world suddenly feels like it's about to collapse around you, your brain starts rewiring itself in ways you probably don't even notice. And here's the thing, it's not always temporary. Stress leaves footprints, some small, some catastrophic, on the very wiring that makes you you. Your brain is a battlefield. At the front line sits your amygdala, the primal fear center, hyper alert, scanning every shadow for predators that might not even exist. Chronic stress floods it with cortisol, your body's built-in chemical alarm system. At first, this is useful. You see danger, you survive. But leave it running unchecked, and suddenly the system designed to save you starts to eat the map it's supposed to follow. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that allows you to plan, reason, and make smart decisions, begins to shrink. That part of you that says, maybe don't send that angry email, or don't spend your life screaming at your alarm clock, becomes compromised. You start reacting before thinking, snapping instead of strategizing, behaving like a creature wired only for survival and not for nuance or long-term planning. Now, imagine a world where the blackout isn't metaphorical. You're in the middle of a societal collapse. The streets are silent except for distant sirens, and your body is screaming at you to run, fight, hide. In that exact moment, stress hormones surge. Your hippocampus, the archivist of memory, begins to falter. It stops filing memories neatly and starts tossing them into a chaotic pile. That's why trauma often feels like a loop, why you can't remember dinner last week but can replay that terrifying second like a broken VHS tape. Stress doesn't just affect what you think, it affects what you remember, what you forget, and how you connect those dots that once made your brain reliable.
Definition of psychological story. Here's what nobody tells you. Your survival instincts under stress are actually adaptive physics and chemistry at work. Your body constricts blood vessels, pumping oxygen-rich blood into the muscles that might carry you from danger. Your heart beats like a war drum, your senses sharpen, sometimes painfully so, like the world is suddenly in Ultra HD. But here's the catch. This comes at the expense of higher reasoning. The longer the stress persists, the more your body prioritizes reflex over reflection, instant reaction over deliberation. Chronic stress flips your brain's priorities, making it optimized for crisis, but unfit for calm, for creativity, for strategy. In other words, you survive, but you don't thrive. And it doesn't stop at cognition. The brain is the command center, yes, but it commands a body that is fundamentally physical. Chronic stress erodes neural pathways, frays connections, and even suppresses neurogenesis, the creation of new neurons. This is why stressed brains feel foggy, why anxiety can spiral into depression, why the mind starts to feel like a city abandoned in decay, with lights flickering and communication lines down. Sleep, which is your brain's emergency repair system, becomes fractured. You wake exhausted, yet wired. Cortisol spikes at night like a cruel prank, leaving you trapped in a state of alertness when all you want is rest. Now, here's a survival insight. You can hack this system, but it requires understanding the battlefield. Deep breathing isn't a cliché, it's a physiological tool. By deliberately slowing your exhale, you signal to your vagus nerve that the crisis has passed, lowering heart rate and tempering cortisol release. Movement, even slow and methodical, forces your body to expend adrenaline that would otherwise assault your neurons. Controlled exposure to sunlight and nature stimulates dopamine and serotonin, counteracting the chemical imbalance that chronic stress introduces. Nutrition, surprisingly, is part of the strategy. Omega-3s, antioxidants, and magnesium fortify your neural circuits against stress-induced decay. This section is based on practical field survival experience rather than formal academic sources.
Definition of psychological story. Another counterintuitive strategy is deliberate discomfort. Yes, intentionally stepping into manageable stress. Cold showers, challenging workouts, problem solving under time pressure teaches your brain to regulate its chemical responses. It's a bit like fireproofing a building. You expose it to small flames so that when the real inferno comes, the structure doesn't crumble. You're training your amygdala not to overreact, your prefrontal cortex to remain active, and your hippocampus to continue filing memories instead of dumping them into chaos. But even with all these hacks, the psychological consequences of sustained stress are real. Social connections can fray under chronic cortisol. Trust erodes. Patience disappears. Decision-making, it becomes a gamble, not a calculation. Yet, paradoxically, stress also amplifies your capacity for adaptation. Humans, after all, are wired to endure hardship, to rewire under pressure. If you can understand how stress reshapes your brain, you can anticipate its pitfalls and exploit its advantages, turning a natural liability into a tactical edge. In a blackout scenario, in a collapse scenario, that knowledge is literally the difference between frozen panic and calculated survival. So next time your chest tightens, when the alarms in your head are ringing and the world seems ready to collapse, remember, your brain is fighting, recalibrating, and learning. Stress is both the predator and the teacher, a chemical sculptor shaping the gray matter inside your skull. You can let it erode you, let it burn pathways until your mind feels like a scorched forest, or you can wield it, guide it, and survive smarter than you ever imagined possible. The war isn't only out there, it's in here, in every synapse, in every pulse of cortisol, in every racing heartbeat that insists you move, act, adapt. How you navigate it defines not just your brain, but your very capacity to endure, to thrive, and ultimately to outlive the chaos.